It's Super Bowl 60, Seahawks, Patriots, and it's time to hear from each side of the matchup. This is a Locked On crossover.
You are Locked On NFL crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's happening? Mama, we made it. Super Bowl crossover episode. I am your host of Locked On Patriots, Nick Cattles, along with the host of Locked On Seahawks, Corbin Smith, for the Super Bowl crossover. And of course, this is the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network, your team every day. On today's crossover, in the third segment, we'll cover our keys to victory and tell you how each team can walk away with the Lombardi. In the second segment, we'll discuss the marquee matchups that will have a significant impact on this Super Bowl. But first, let's talk storylines. Crossover Thursday is presented by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. One game left. It is bananas, Corbin, that both of these teams got here. If you go back to the beginning of the year, the odds that the Seahawks would make it, the odds that the Patriots would make it, let alone both teams making this game on Sunday, is truly a gigantic story within itself. But I'm going to ask you, what is the biggest story this week in Seattle?
Yeah, look, it's all about Sam Darnold and the incredible renaissance that he's had with his career in Minnesota last year. But still, there was a lot of doubters because of the way the year ended, like the horrible game against the Lions in the season finale that cost Minnesota a division title. And then the next week, the Rams sacked him 9 times. They ramsacked him. And it was just an ugly performance. There was a lot of people out there wondering, like, was this feel-good story really a facade? And Seattle made the decision that it wasn't. And it's crazy. They were very close to bringing back Geno Smith. They wanted to bring back Geno Smith. And at the time, I thought that was the move to make. And look, I still think Geno Smith and this offense would have been a lot of fun to watch. I think that Clint Kubiak would have had success with them. I don't know if he had this kind of success that Sam Darnold has had, but Darnold has been the storyline because not only has he delivered, he had one of the best games in NFL history by a quarterback in the playoffs in the NFC title game. Over 330 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, almost a 70% completion rate, and most importantly, no turnovers. He's really been pretty good at taking care of the football, aside from a 4 or 5 game stretch in the regular season where he had some issues on that front. But he really is storyline 1A and 1B, just because nobody would have thought the Seahawks were going to be getting to the Super Bowl riding his arm. Their defense has been a big reason they're here, but he delivered that game in the NFC Championship game that got him to the Super Bowl. And I just don't think anybody was expecting Sam Darnold to take that step where he was taking over a game. And then on the flip side with the New England Patriots, Drake May, what he's done in year 2. And for me, I'm curious where you stand on this, but I think the defense is the biggest storyline for the Patriots coming into this game, because I think that's why they're here with the way they've played in the postseason.
No doubt that's why they made the Super Bowl. There's no doubt that the defense has stepped up, exponentially in this postseason to get them here. But I really think the big story is Drake May and this offense, because I think people feel pretty good about the defense, and it's not to completely write off the Seattle Seahawks and what they can do offensively. But I think we've gotten to the point where a lot of people look at this Patriots defense and what they've been able to do, and they feel pretty good about their ability to keep a game tight as long as the offense can do something worthwhile. And I think it's all about Drake May and the offense and what they can do on Sunday. The playoffs have mostly been a slog. I did not think that May played bad against the Chargers, aside from the couple of turnovers. And of course, turnovers are awful, but when he was a pocket passer, he actually played pretty well. But against Houston and Denver, he took a huge step back. He has not been the same guy in the postseason as he was in the regular season. Yes, the weather has to do something with it. Yes, the offensive line has had something to do with it. But even when he's been protected, even when the weather's been good, he hasn't been the same guy. I'm not as worried about the shoulder stuff that everybody was talking about last week. I think that was a big nothing burger. To me, Corbin, the bigger question is, can Drake May, there are a lot of questions here, but can Drake May and the offensive line deal with those stunts in games that Seattle's going to throw their way? Can Drake May make 2 to 3 impact throws downfield? As we know, you and I, both of these offenses have thrived on explosive plays. Can Drake May find a way against this pretty awesome Seattle defense to come up with 2 or 3 of those explosive plays downfield? Will his legs be a difference maker in this football game? Can he take care of the football? He did against Denver. He didn't against LA and Houston. And of course, we've heard a lot about this over the past 36 to 48 hours. The cover 6 question has just blown up over the past couple of days. But I don't think Drake May needs to be immaculate, but this offense needs 2 to 3 scoring drives led by their quarterback. And after the last couple of games we've seen, I think that's a legitimate question of whether or not May is going to be able to perform that way against this particular defense.
Yeah, and it's funny because the Seahawks really, aside from their last 2 games against the Rams and Week 5 against Tampa Bay, they were missing pretty much their entire secondary and Baker Mayfield. That was before Tampa Bay fell apart. Tampa Bay looked like they might be playing in this game in the first month and a half of the season, and everything just kind of unraveled from there. But you really take those 2 games against the Rams at Lumen Field out of the equation, this Seahawks defense has given up less than 16.5 points per game the rest of the year. They have been just utterly dominant. The Rams have been the one kryptonite for them, and yet they found a way to win both those games anyway. So that's another big question here. Can the Seahawks get back to playing the way they have in 95% of their games this season? Matthew Stafford's not on the other sideline. Drake May certainly can do some great things, but Matthew Stafford has a much quicker trigger. He gets the ball out fast. Drake May is the polar opposite in this. How does Seattle handle that, having more time potentially to get after him? And can they coax him into some bad decisions and some bad throws in this game? I think this defense is coming in incredibly confident because, hey, we just faced the best offense we're probably going to face in the playoffs. And, yeah, they put up 27, but we didn't give up any points in the fourth quarter, and that was crucial for them to win. So, I look at it as kind of a bounce-back opportunity in the Super Bowl for this defense. Can they go out and play the way they have most of this season, or does New England have a few tricks up its sleeve that they learned watching what Los Angeles did? And can Drake May find some of that Matthew Stafford in his game this week?
Well, the bounce back for Seattle's defense. I think same thing as, hey, can Drake May bounce back? And frankly, he was one of the best quarterbacks in football through the regular season. Again, I didn't think he was terrible against the Chargers. Can he find a middle ground? Maybe not be as great as he was in the regular season against some of these worse defenses, obviously, than Seattle. But, can he find that middle level between the regular season Drake, who is in the hunt for the MVP, and that Chargers Drake? Can he kind of find that middle ground? Because if he can, I think the Patriots have a legitimate shot in this football game. I also think they're just, the one big difference between Stafford and May is May will kill you with his legs if he can. If you allow him to, he will extend plays at a much higher level than Matthew Stafford. So there is some of that as well. Seattle hasn't played a ton of scrambling quarterbacks, not many at all this year. So I do think that's a different kind of dynamic. It is a very, very interesting matchup. Speaking of matchups, Corbin, we will have our marquee matchups next as we continue with this Super Bowl crossover episode of Locked On Patriots and Locked On Seahawks. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It is the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff. The final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game everyone's been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. It's the perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season is over. Bet just $5 if you're a new customer and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Finding a doctor you actually like can feel like discovering a diamond in the rough. You want someone in-network, nearby, with availability, but you also want a doctor who really listens, makes you feel comfortable, explains things clearly, and helps you walk out feeling confident about your next step. Your diamond in the rough doctor exists, and finding them is easy with Zocdoc. Zocdoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high-quality in-network doctors so you can choose someone you truly connect with. You'll love that you can search for specialty or symptoms and quickly find the right fit. The real-time availability means you can book instantly and play no phone tag. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments. Go to ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL to find and instantly book a doctor you love today. That's ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL. ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL. Thanks to ZocDoc for sponsoring this message. Of course, you already live your team every day. Now take it up a level. Kick it up a notch and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today. Get Locked On Patriots or Locked On Seahawks with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month, $50 on the year. Go to LockedOnPatriots.supercast.com or LockedOnSeahawks.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. Also, you can go to the website and put the code in Super Bowl until Super Bowl Sunday, and you get 1 month free. So that's really cool. Don't forget also, if you're watching us, whether it's Locked On Patriots, Locked On Seahawks, if you love what we do here at Locked On, don't forget to give us that thumbs up. Give us the like on YouTube. Helps us with that algorithm. Don't forget to throw a comment in as well. And don't forget to subscribe. Help a couple brothers out. Subscribe to our YouTube page. We appreciate it very much so. All right, Super Bowl 60, Corbin Smith, Locked On Seahawks. Nick Cattle's here, Locked On Patriots, getting you ready for the big game on Sunday. Corbin, we'll go over marquee matchups now, my man. Give me your first marquee matchup of this game.
It all starts with the Patriots' left side of their offensive line against the Seahawks' defensive line. And the reason I'm not bunching a couple guys together there is Seattle moves all their guys around puzzle pieces in Mike Macdonald's scheme. They'll put Leonard Williams out there as a 5-tech and have him play defensive end. DeMarcus Lawrence will reduce inside and play 3-tech. They'll move guys all over the place. But I expect to see a lot of Leonard Williams and DeMarcus Lawrence on that side of the line to test the two rookies for the Patriots over there, because Will Campbell, Jared Wilson have both struggled mightily in this postseason. 5 combined sacks given up. And honestly, watching the Patriots games, and Nick, I'm curious of your thoughts on this, but I don't feel like the PFF pressure numbers match what I have seen in the games even. It feels like those two have really had a hard time keeping pass rushers away from Drake May. And May's been sacked 15 times. And regular season, a lot of those were on the QB. The playoffs, it has felt like it's kind of went the other direction. And I just think Seattle's experience and their talent on that defensive line, particularly DeMarcus Lawrence and Leonard Williams, who can win with speed and power as veterans, that to me is an area the Seahawks can win this football game potentially if those two in particular can take advantage of the inexperience and the playoff struggles that the Patriots have had on that left side of the offensive line.
Yeah, Will Campbell stunk out loud the first couple playoff games. There's really no debate about that. He was brutal against the Chargers. He was brutal against the Texans. Khalil Mack, Will Anderson Jr., no joke, obviously. Really talented pass rushers, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Will Campbell was good in those games. He was terrible. I did think he was better against Denver. I don't think he was awesome, but I thought he was markedly better against the Broncos. I think Jared Wilson against the Chargers, he had a really, really bad day at the office, but I actually think he's played fairly well the last couple of playoff games. Again, it's the rookie left side. They're going to give up a couple of pressures. I go in thinking that. I'm expecting that. I don't think a clean sheet is, reasonable to expect from these guys at this point. It's just how bad do they let it get? I think they were better against Denver. I think Wilson's been pretty good the last 2 games, considering where he was, relatively speaking. I'm going to stick with the defensive line for the Patriots because I'm telling you right now, if the Patriots win this football game, a lot is going to have to do with Christian Barmore and Milton Williams just absolutely working the interior of the Seahawks offensive line. Gray Zabel is really good. He's still a rookie, and he still gets beat from time to time. I would be less apt to believe that's going to happen consistently on Sunday, but I think you could get him once or twice. But I'm more focused on Jalen Sundell and Anthony Bradford. Bradford is atrocious. And I think if Milton Williams can get lined up across Bradford enough times in this game, Milton Williams can single-handedly destroy 1 or 2 drives for the Seahawks offense. So I would look at Barmore and Williams against Sundell and Bradford as the key matchup for this Patriots defensive line. And to me, this game hinges on the Patriots making Sam Darnold's life miserable. I know he was good in the NFC Championship game. I understand that. I appreciate it. I don't think he is that guy every week. Doesn't mean he's going to be awful on Sunday, but I do think the Patriots can get him a little bit rattled if they can get that pressure. And it's well stated, under pressure. I know he was good in the NFC Championship game, but under pressure all year long, the numbers are the numbers. He's not the same guy. So I think this matchup of Christian Barmore and Milton Williams against that interior, that matchup particularly might drive Sam Darnold a little bit crazy. Marquee matchup number 2 for you.
Yeah, it plays right into what you're just talking about right now. And I really like the Seahawks getting their running backs involved in the passing game in this one. And that's kind of been something Klint Kubiak's been doing more the last 5 or 6 games, particularly with Ken Walker. But George Holani, like Zach Charbonnet is a big loss for them.
Yeah.
Holani, you can argue, might be a more natural pass catcher than what Zach Charbonnet is. And he had 88 catches in his college career at Boise State, a decorated career there where he actually held off Ashton Genty as the starter until he was off campus. I mean, this guy's a really good football player. He's had some injuries, but those two guys, if Kubiak can find a way to get them matched up with Spillane and Christian Ellis in this game and get some one-on-ones, it allows some quick read opportunities for Sam Darnold to get the ball out, kind of neutralize those interior defensive linemen a little bit as pass rushers for New England. And it can loosen and open some things up otherwise in the playbook. I will be kind of surprised if Seattle doesn't early on get some quick hitters to those running backs and let them try to do some work after the catch, see if they can get some one-on-ones against the linebackers or even the Patriots safeties. I think that could be advantageous for Seattle potentially in this football game.
Yeah, I wonder if Zach Core, the defensive play caller of the Patriots, will try to heat up Sam Darnold early, because if you send the blitz and you force those backs to block, we know, those guys aren't great in pass protection, either of them, especially Kenneth Walker. So I do wonder how aggressive Zach Core will be right out the jump to try to see if he can get to Sam Darnold without allowing guys to leak out and get those matchups. We'll see how it all comes together. My second marquee matchup, Corbin, is Josh McDaniels against Mike McDonald. I think both of these guys are incredibly respected throughout the football world for good reason. I mean, Josh McDaniels, I think, is one of the best offensive coordinators in football, certainly not one of the best head coaches in football. Mike McDonald, really good head coach, really good defensive play caller. And it's, to me, I would not expect the Patriots to be able to move the football easily in this game. I think it's going to be a slog. As I said earlier, I would expect that again for this offense. I don't think they're going to put up 24, 27, 31 points unless turnovers or special teams come into play. So it's really, what does Josh McDaniels do? Can he scheme up a couple of big plays? Can he have a trick play out of the back pocket? Can he find a way to run the football against the Seahawks defense, which is climbing up Mount Everest with a refrigerator on your back? Can he find a way to have a few of those runs? Just pop a couple of runs to ease up a little bit. And can he take advantage of things like Devin Witherspoon in the slot, who has had some trouble with speed, that I've seen a few times this year? Can you scheme something up and have one of those deep passes, one of those big plays that end up being a scoring drive for you? So Josh McDaniels has to be at his best, because this is a huge, huge challenge on Sunday. Your third and final marquee matchup.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go away from the positions here. I'm going to just, to me, the other key matchup here is kind of what something's got to give type ordeal. The New England Patriots have been so poor in the red zone defensively, and the Seahawks have been one of the very best in terms of finishing drives, particularly in goal-to-go positions. I think that is a massive matchup in this game when you're talking just about Seattle's red zone offense and New England's red zone defense. If Seattle gets down there, you got to finish. You got to take advantage of what the Patriots have struggled to do. They got to consistently be able to get drives into the red zone. And I think if they can do that, then they can win this game, maybe fairly handily. But if they get down there, or they don't get down there very much, they get down there and they don't finish drives, they're held to field goals, that opens the door for New England, especially considering that's maybe been the biggest weakness for that football team this entire year.
It was a huge weakness for the vast majority of it. I will say they've been much better since the bye week for the most part. They've been much better in the red zone defensively. And let's not forget, Milton Williams and Robert Spillane, those two guys not being there, especially Milton Williams, really hurt this defense. I mean, they're not super deep. They had so much turnover in the offseason. They need their guys to be healthy. And when Milton Williams and Robert Spillane out there, it's a different defense. It's especially a different defense against the run. My third and final marquee matchup, the Patriots corners against Jackson Smith and Jigba. How can you not talk about JSN with a marquee matchup? I expect New England to mix it up a little bit with the coverages. I do think they might lean on man coverage a little bit more. I don't think it's going to be exclusively Christian Gonzalez. I think they'll mix and match. I think Carlton Davis, when he is on JSN, will try to get physical with him at the line of scrimmage to not allow him some of those free releases. I talked about this on the Locked On Patriots podcast. One thing the Patriots have to notice and appreciate is JSN in the backfield. That unleashes a few plays that I think could give the Patriots defense an issue. You got to make sure you're communicating and know whose assignment and whose assignment. So I think, Carlton Davis, Marcus Jones, Christian Gonzalez, all three of those guys, I would imagine, will have their chance against JSN. And, if they can limit Jackson Smith and Jigba, I think they really hurt this Seahawks offense. If you can not totally shut him down, but limit him, he is the heartbeat of this passing game. And if you slow the run game down and you do a decent enough job on him, then it's on Sam Darnold. And I would like my chances if I were the Patriots defense. All right, Corbin and I will have each team's path to the Lombardi, the keys to victory. Next on today's crossover episode of Locked On Patriots and Locked On Seahawks, we are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. If you've ever hired someone who looked good on paper but wasn't the right fit, you know how important that is. When you want candidates who truly match what you're looking for, trust Indeed sponsored jobs. Hiring Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. If I needed to hire someone for this show, I'd go straight to Indeed and be very, very specific about what I need. Real experience, not just a resume buzzword. Spend more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. With less stress, less time, and more results using Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of this show get a $75 sponsored job credit to help give your job the premium placement it deserves at Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL. Just go to Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL right now and support the show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. New year, new systems. This is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run our business and think there has to be a better way. And there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest upgrades you can make. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Quo, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. You'll love how simple Quo makes everything. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number so nothing gets missed. It works right from your phone or computer, and you can even keep your existing number. It's no surprise Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses. Make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/LockedOnNFL. That's QUO.com/LockedOnNFL. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. Don't forget to help us out. Like, comment, and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. All right, Super Bowl 60. We went through the marquee matchups. We went through the top stories. Now we get to the keys to victory. Corbin Smith, Locked On Seahawks. Nick Cattles, Locked On Patriots. Corbin, we'll start with you. Give me your 3 keys for Seattle to win this football game on Sunday.
Well, first and foremost, you can't let Drake May get a bunch of runs where he gets out of the pocket and extends plays and scrambles and either gets away with his legs or ends up hitting on a big pass play downfield with guys uncovering against the secondary. And so I'm looking at the pass rush integrity, the pass rushing lanes for Seattle. And they've had experience doing this against guys like Kyler Murray and players of that nature this year. Cam Ward actually had some success against the Seahawks in Nashville earlier this year. They haven't played a lot of scrambling quarterbacks, but Jaden Daniels on Sunday Night Football, they did extremely well against him. Kyler Murray, they shut him down earlier this year. It all boils down to the ability to be able to cautiously, aggressively rush the passer and create some situations where Drake May is under duress and prevent him from getting out of the pocket, particularly climbing up the pocket and finding lanes to scramble. If they can do that and limit his damage in that regard, I like their chances of being able to get to him and get sacks on him. So that's going to be the first thing for me on defense. And second thing, put the Patriots in 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 6 consistently. I don't care how you do it on 1st and 2nd down. Limit the run game. Force some incompletions on early downs. That, again, feeds into your pass rush. And I just think if Seattle's got a lot of 3rd and 5 and 3rd and 6 or longer situations, Leonard Williams, Uchenna Nwosu, DeMarcus Lawrence and company, those guys are going to be coming after the quarterback Drake May with their ears pinned back. And Seattle's been extremely difficult to stop with their defense this year when they can consistently get into positions like that, especially against younger quarterbacks. That has led to a lot of turnovers and a lot of sacks in games this year. And as for the offense, I mentioned it earlier. It's not, for me, it's not about how many explosives you hit or how well you run the football. They got to get a little bit of both those, but get to the red zone, sustain drives. I think if Seattle can consistently move the football and get it into New England's deep 20-yard line, I like Seattle's chances to put up quite a few points in this game. It's going to be a hard thing to do against this defense, but can you find a way to complete your 3rd downs, convert them on a 50% clip or somewhere in that, and sustain drives so you can get those red zone opportunities where I know New England's been better, but that has still been a weak spot for them, and Seattle's been really good for most of the season there. I think if they do that on offense, they're going to have a really good shot to win this football game.
Yeah, the one thing the Patriots have done really well for most of the year, pretty much all year, is not allow teams to get inside the red zone. So it'll be interesting if Seattle will be able to crack that code consistently on Sunday. My 3 keys. Number 1, I think you got to slow down Seattle's run game. This offense is still predicated on the run game. Kenneth Walker and his resurgence has been a major piece to the puzzle as to why Seattle in their offense has played so well. So you got to slow down Kenneth Walker. I think the Patriots will be able to do that with Milton Williams and Robert Spillane on the field. They've slowed down everybody, every running back, every offense when those two guys have been playing. So I would expect the same thing to happen. I'd be very surprised if Kenneth Walker is running for 100 yards and all of a sudden it's just run the football down their throat. I would be surprised by that. Not impossible, but I would be very, very surprised. The other part of that is you got to be able to slow down Seattle's play action game. They thrive in the play action. The good news for the Patriots, they've been one of the best play action defenses in all of football. So can they slow down Kenneth Walker and take away some of that play action? I think that would go a long way into slowing down the Seattle offense. Secondly, you got to take away Sam Darnold's initial read. He's a different quarterback when he doesn't have his first read. And if you can take away his first read, if you can, again, limit Jackson Smith and Jigba, that's when I think we see some of the Sam Darnold of old creep in. That's when the indecisiveness happens. That's when he gets a little bit jittery. So the cornerbacks, the safeties, the linebackers, as you mentioned earlier, Corbin, if you're looking at, running backs out of the backfield, you got to take away the first read, whatever that is. And you've got to force Sam Darnold to go through his progressions and start feeling that heat from your defensive line if it can get there. Third, and this is less low-hanging fruit, but it's so true, especially in the biggest game of the year, you've got to win the turnover battle. The Patriots did not turn the ball over against Denver. They won an ugly game in Denver with blizzard conditions in the second half. They were able to escape turnover problems from Drake May against the Chargers, against the Texans. They will not be able to do that against the Seahawks on Sunday. They've got to take care of the football. On the other side, I'm sure there were some stretches here and there, but the numbers are the numbers. Seattle coughs the ball up a lot. They turn the ball over, and the quarterback turns the ball over, even though he's 15th in pass attempts on the season. So can you force Seattle into a couple of turnovers? If you can keep the clean sheet with the turnover margin, you can win this football game. But I think it's gonna take a big-time effort from this defense to try to create a couple of those turnovers and try to change the tenor of this game and get Sam Darnold thinking a little bit after the high he has coming off of that NFC Championship game. All right, we don't do our picks here. Corbin and I both keep our picks for Friday's episode for each respective podcast, so you want to check that out when we dive deeper into the game. For now, that wraps up this edition of the crossover, which is the Super Bowl crossover edition. Locked On Patriots, Locked On Seahawks. Unbelievable. We are both here to talk about this game on Sunday. Thank you for making us your first listen and for being an everydayer. Don't forget to throw a comment in on the YouTube channel. Hit that like button and subscribe. Also, if you're looking for a gift for someone, Make it easy, folks. Check out the Everydayer Club. Ad-free episodes of this show, exclusive Discord server access, and more. Subscriptions can be gifted through LockedOnPatriots.supercast.com or LockedOnSeahawks.supercast.com. Have a great day. We'll be back on Friday.